let's do H1Bs and the Ingram interview, because she did make a lot of news with him. So you mentioned the Chinese students. Take a look at this, SOT 3.
You've said as many as 600,000 Chinese students could come to the United States. Why, sir, is that a pro-MAGA position when so many American kids want to go to school and there are places not for them, and these universities are getting rich off Chinese money?
Sure. Never said about China, but we do have a lot of people coming in from China. We always have, China and other countries. We also have a massive system of colleges and universities. And if we were to cut that in half, which perhaps makes some people happy, you would have half the colleges in the United States go out of business.
So what?
Well, I think that's a big deal. But you would have, as you know, historically, black colleges and universities would all be out of business. You would have a system of colleges and universities.
So we're dependent on China to keep our university system going?
But I think it's good to have, I actually think it's good to have outside countries. Look, I want to be able to get along with the world. And it's not that I want them, but I view it as a business. You don't want to cut half of the people, half of the students from all over the world that are coming into our country, destroy our entire university and college system. I don't want to do that.
I wouldn't lose any.
And don't forget, MAGA was my idea. MAGA was nobody else's idea. I know what MAGA wants better than anybody else.
That is so Trump. He said that to me too. After my interview with him in 23, he said, MAGA's not going to like that interview. And then I actually said back to him, MAGA will feel about it however you tell them to. You know, it's just like if you telegraph you had a good interview, they'll like it. If you say it sucked, they'll go a different way. But that he clearly does believe that. Like MAGA will do whatever he says.
I think there are two areas where he is vulnerable to his own base. And it's because their love and attachment to him is based on these two things. It's the fighting of China and the American elites that support them, like our university system, and then the immigration front. And he does not have a lot of wiggle room there. It's funny, Mark Halperin, who's in your network, on the Megyn Kelly network, he asked me once on one of his shows, what's the correct number of Chinese or foreign students we should have in American universities? And my answer was 0.
Yes.
0.
0. I'm with you. Like, Batya for president.
0. Every one of those spots should go to a black kid or a kid from Appalachia. It is such an absolute chutzpah to be giving the greatest privilege in American education to our enemies and not going and recruiting that talent here at home. And it's the exact same thing with the H1B visas. Donald Trump was not elected because he tweets mean things. He was elected to put Americans first. And that is what it looks like. It says, you know what, if you're a university that, by the way, is spouting anti-American rhetoric day in and day out, teaching young people both on the right and the left to hate America and hate the values this nation was founded on, and you're only able to stay in business because of Chinese Communist Party apparatchiks flooding our system, go out of business. This would be so great for America. All of those billions of dollars that the taxpayer gives to higher ed, we'll give it to vocational training. Let's start building, training centers in AI in the South and in the Midwest. And let's give Americans a fair shot at the American dream. That is why Donald Trump was elected. And so to see him now, honestly, I think this is actually about tariffs. I think that he realized in the fight with Xi Jinping that this was a huge bargaining chip for Xi, that Xi would actually back down on the economic fight if Trump would promise him those 600,000 spots for these, CCP future apparatchiks. It's extremely important to him.
Infuriating.
It's infuriating, but I think in Trump's mind, I don't think he's betraying America. I think in his mind, he made a calculation that his tariff program falls or rises with whether he can get a deal with China. This is extremely important for reshoring manufacturing. And if this is what Xi wants, he's willing to give it to him. But I do think that clips like that just make the base feel like this is not what I voted for.
Definitely not. All right. The H1B visas, which are typically given, the vast majority of them are given to people from India. And they come and they work in tech for the most part, which is why people like Elon Musk very much support them. Elon says he came on an H1B visa initially and that it helped him. But a couple of examples of how those visas are typically given. Software engineers, IT specialists, scientists, researchers, accountants, architects, engineers, medical professionals, and so on. Have to be like specialized. That's generally how you get one. You have like special skills. That's what they say. And then you can get an H1B visa to come over to the United States and work here. And there is a real debate between especially the techies and the Trumpies on whether these are good. So Laura asked him about the H1B visas. Here's how that went.
There's never going to be a country like what we have right now.
And does that
mean
the
Republicans have to talk about it? Laura.
And does that mean the H1B visa thing will not be a big priority for your administration? Because if you want to raise wages for American workers, you can't flood the country with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of foreign workers.
You also do have to bring in talent. When
we have plenty of talented people here.
No, you don't.
We don't have talented people here?
No, you don't have certain talents, and people have to learn. You can't take people off an unemployment line and say, I'm going to put you into a factory where we're going to make missiles.
Does he have a point, or how do you see it?
Just so bad. This is exactly what Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy were saying at that big blow up over Christmas. Where they were saying, I'm sorry, we just don't have the talent here. It's such a slap in the face to the American worker. Train them, train everyone. The H-1B visa holders who come in here, they are not specialized. They have no talent. You know what their talent is, Megyn? They're willing to work for $50,000 a year. Exactly. They have driven down the wages in STEM, which means that our brightest kids are not going into STEM, because what are you going to do? Like graduate after 4 years with student loans and take a job where you're making $50K? You're not going to do that. So we're actually driving our brilliant Americans out of STEM because we're importing Indians to do those jobs. It is so atrocious and terrible. And it is such a betrayal of the American worker. And this is a fight we absolutely have to have right now, because Trump has done an amazing job of attracting, I think the number at this point is about $15 trillion in manufacturing here and everything around that. So much of that is going to be AI training and AI work. And we need to insist that every one of those jobs goes to an American. You know, again, like people ask me a lot, what is the correct number of immigrants into America right now? And my answer is kind of the same, Megyn. It's somewhere close to zero. Like it might not be zero. There maybe is another Elon Musk out there who really wants to come here. But right now we're just bringing in, bargain basement programmers, when those could be middle-class jobs for American workers, Americans who are struggling right now. Why are so many people on food stamps? Why is healthcare so expensive? I mean, these are the questions we have to be having, and the affordability question is totally inseparable from this question of immigration. The fact that we have so many immigrants in this country is a huge reason why Americans make so little and are struggling with basics like food. If you think about it, Megyn, every illegal immigrant in America is either working, meaning they're driving down the wages in that industry, or they're living off the government, meaning the American taxpayer is subsidizing them. There's no in between, right? They're not being funded by somebody in their home country to live here in America. Both of those options are utterly unacceptable, which is why in every single poll, the vast majority of Americans, 56%, okay, a solid majority, supports deporting every single illegal immigrant. And it seems now like what the Trump administration is saying is, okay, we're going to counteract the deportation program with expanding the legal immigrants program. Kristi Noem this morning said that they're.
Oh, I have that.
Let's
Hold
play
on.
that.
I'll play it. Kristi Noem went on Fox and Friends this morning and said this. Sat too.
What is the administration's position on these visas?
No, we're going to keep using our visa programs. We're just going to make sure that they have integrity, that we're actually doing the vetting of the individuals who come into this country, that they want to be here for the right reasons, that they're not supporters of terrorists and organizations that hate America. And that's what I think is so remarkable is under the Trump administration, we've sped up our process and added integrity to the visa programs, to green cards, to all of that. But also more people are becoming naturalized under this administration than ever before. More people are becoming citizens because we're not just streamlining and building some processes back into our immigration policies. We're also making sure that these individuals that are coming into our country and get that privilege, that they actually are here for the right reasons.
That was in defense of H1B visas, saying, we're coming, but we're getting the best. We're not getting people who hate America anymore. And then that's the second point about more becoming naturalized. I was like, oh, she thinks she's on CNN. That is definitely not what the Fox viewers want to hear.
It's funny because, Trump won because he cobbled together an unbelievably diverse coalition. He brought in record numbers of Jewish Americans and Black Americans and Hispanic Americans into the Republican Party, and also these sort of tech bro oligarchs. And the thing that the tech bro oligarchs want is access to cheap labor because, of course, they are,
they want these visas.
Exactly. They want these visas. They want a limit. Elon Musk said, "This is the hill I will die on. You can go F yourself in the face this is literally what he tweeted, if you're going to fight me on this." Now, people like that who are very, very, very wealthy and want this like limitless stream of low wage labor, their problem is very symbolic. They really don't like seeing people like Mahmoud Khalil, a person who got the greatest privilege on earth, an American green card, and used it to attack America and to support Hamas and support terrorism. They don't like that. Of course, I obviously don't like that either, but that is not the number one problem we're facing with mass immigration. The number one problem we're facing is that people who are not our neighbors are being subsidized by our poor neighbors' taxpayer dollars to live here, to live in homes so that there's a housing crisis, to work in their industries and drive down the wages, and to basically immiserate the working class. They're being forced to pay for their competition, their replacements in the labor force. So in the 70s,
yeah, because it's not like one here or there. It'd be one thing if they really were bringing specialized people, but it's like hundreds of these visas for like one tech company, all from India, all low wage. If they're so special, why aren't they getting higher wage, right? Like if they actually have special skills that we can't get here, you would imagine they would get the top of the pay scale, not the bottom.
Yeah, it's like about 500,000 of them over, I don't remember the exact period of time, but already when you're talking about 500,000 people, it's not specialized, right? It's an entire wage sector. It's an entire sector of the economy. So you have illegals competing with working class people. You now have the H1Bs competing with what would have been middle class jobs. Of course, $50,000 a year now is not a middle class job anymore, right? So you're just dragging everybody down with this. So back in the 70s, which was the high watermark for working class wages, where they could afford, the American dream on a single income, buy a home, etc., the kind of ideal that we look back to, the percentage of Americans living on American soil, people living on American soil who were not born here, was 4%. It was a historic low. Today, Megyn, it's 15 or 16%. It's never been this high in American history.
Wow.
That is why young people can't afford to buy homes. That is why people can't afford health care. That is why 42 million people are on food stamps, because they cannot command the wages that would give them a middle-class standard of living, because they are competing with 16% of the people here who were not born in the United States. That's the number one problem for the working class, and that should be the number one issue for Republicans going forward.
Wow. Here is the Mike Cernovich tweet. Trump broke everyone's heart with this line about the American workforce and H1Bs, suggesting we don't have workers who can do it. Then there's Anthony Sabatini. He's a vocal pro-Trump Lake County commissioner in Florida, who wrote, "This is insane. We're going to lose the midterms so badly. We've never seen an administration crash and burn in its first year so badly for no reason other than to appease donors and special interests." I think that overstates it by far. He's not crashing and burning so badly. But this was a misstep this morning. It's the one time of year that Birch Gold Group gives away free gold with every qualifying purchase. That's right. For Black Friday, when you convert an existing IRA or 401k in whole or in part into a tax-sheltered IRA in gold, Birch Gold will send free gold to your home for every $20,000 purchased. Gold started this year around $2,600 an ounce. By October, it was over $4,000 an ounce. Why? Global uncertainty. 2025 has been defined by trade wars. Central banks are pulling from the U.S. dollar as the global reserve currency, and military tension continues to build. Gold thrives in times of uncertainty, and if you are looking to diversify your savings, Birch Gold can help you. Plus, now through November 30th, get free gold with a qualifying purchase. Just text MK to the number 989898 to claim your eligibility and for our free info kit on gold. But your opportunity for free gold with purchase will end on November 30th. So don't wait. Text MK to the number 989898 for full details. Message and data rates may apply. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.